On a bright and sunny day in Philadelphia, Big Shaq took a walk through the neighborhood market. He moved through the crowd, keeping a low profile, but a group of dangerous cartel members spotted him. They whispered among themselves, deciding that he didn't belong there. What they didn't know was that Shaq wasn't just any man. He was the toughest basketball player in the world, and they were about to learn a hard lesson. Subscribe and like this video to see what happens next. The East Philadelphia street market was full of life as Shaq made his way past stalls and vendors. He stopped at a fruit stand, where a kind elderly woman named Elizabeth, who looked to be in her mid-60s, greeted him with a warm smile. Shaq's eyes scanned the fresh fruits, and he reached out to inspect some juicy oranges, his large hands carefully testing their quality. Elizabeth, surprised to see such a familiar face, looked up at him with curiosity. She studied him for a moment, then finally spoke. "You look familiar. Are you someone famous?" Shaq, despite his towering height and recognizable features, just chuckled and smiled, his easygoing attitude making it clear he wasn't looking for attention. His deep laugh echoed through the market, blending with Elizabeth's light-hearted giggle. "Not anymore, ma'am," Shaq said with a friendly grin. "Just a regular guy looking for some good oranges." "You got the best ones, right?" Elizabeth's smile widened, as bright as the Philadelphia sun. "Of course." "Here, take this one. On the house. A little extra sweetness for a kind customer." Shaq took the orange and nodded gratefully, his small gesture showing how much he appreciated kindness. With a final wave, he left Elizabeth's stall and continued strolling through the market, his tall figure towering over the busy crowd. But just as he was enjoying the peaceful walk, a sudden disturbance broke the market's cheerful energy. A group of 5 rowdy men laughed loudly, their voices cutting through the noise. They wore matching leather jackets with their cartel's emblem, and as soon as they spotted Shaq, they stopped. They exchanged smirks, their bloodshot eyes narrowing as they sized him up. Their drunken minds were already coming up with trouble. Arturo, the clear leader of the group, fueled by liquid courage, stands up from his spot on the corner store steps and strolls toward Shaq. His walk is full of fake confidence, like he owns the place. His voice is slurred, his breath stinks of cheap beer. Arturo smirks. "Hey, look at this guy. What's he doing here? Doesn't he know this is our turf? You lost, pretty boy?" Eduardo, still sitting on the steps, sneers and laughs, adding to the tense mood. Eduardo chuckles, his voice dripping with mockery. "He looks lost. Maybe we should help him find his way out. Or maybe we should charge him a toll for walking through our territory." The other cartel members snicker, hyping up Eduardo, their body language growing bolder as trouble brews. But Shaq, who's spent years in the ring and in life, knows the value of patience. He stays calm, unfazed by their taunts. He keeps walking, refusing to be drawn into their game. But Arturo and his gang aren't about to let him off that easily. Fueled by booze and unchecked arrogance, they close in on the former champion. Arturo's voice turns sharp, filled with menace. "Hey, you deaf or something?" "I'm talking to you. Don't turn your back on me, old man." Shaq, towering over them, turns to face the group. His expression is steady, his calmness almost unsettling in the face of Arturo's aggression. Shaq's voice is firm, but even. "I'm not looking for trouble, fellas. Just enjoying my day. Let's not ruin it, okay?" The cartel members exchange glances. For a moment, uncertainty flickers in their eyes, but Arturo, puffed up by his crew's presence, steps even closer. Arturo grins, his words soaked in sarcasm. "Trouble? Who said anything about trouble? We're just being friendly, right, boys?" His gang laughs, their grins widening, their excitement for violence thick in the air. They close in on Shaq, forming a tight, dangerous semicircle around him. Their sneers grow sharper, their eyes gleaming with the hunger to dominate. Eduardo, feeling bold in the safety of the group, takes a step forward, resting a heavy hand on Shaq's shoulder. Eduardo's voice drops, his stare cold. "You look like you got some money on you. Why don't you share some with us? We don't want things to get unfriendly." Shaq sighs a deep, tired breath. He's been in situations like this before. Pointless, avoidable fights that only ever end one way. His broad shoulders slump slightly, not out of fear, but out of disappointment. Shaq's voice is calm but firm. Look, I don't want any problems. Just let me be, and we'll all have a good day. Eduardo's grip tightens, his smirk twisting into a sneer. He leans in closer, his breath warm against Shaq's face. Eduardo's voice drips with condescension. Oh, yeah? Arturo, feeling bolder because of Shaq's calm reaction, steps closer. His finger jabs into Shaq's chest like a dagger. His voice sharp with aggression, he sneers. You don't tell us what to do. This is our neighborhood. You don't belong here. You're in our territory now, old man. The tension in the air thickens, ready to snap. The cartel members stand rigid, their shoulders tight like coiled springs. Around them, shoppers and pedestrians scatter like frightened prey. Then, in one quick move, Arturo lunges, yanking the bag of oranges from Shaq's hands and tossing it carelessly to the ground. The oranges spill and roll across the pavement like marbles. The cartel members, fired up by Arturo's act, start circling Shaq, their steps slow and predatory. Arturo, his confidence growing, stands tall. Shaq's eyes flash with a silent challenge. Arturo, his voice filled with venom, taunts, "What are you gonna do about it, tough guy? Huh? Gonna cry over your oranges?" But Shaq doesn't flinch. He just stares, cold, steady, unshaken. His silence speaks louder than any threat. His fists tighten, his knuckles turning white, the only hint of the storm raging inside him. His voice, calm but firm, cuts through the air. You've got one chance to walk away. Don't make me do something we'll both regret. Arturo scoffs, his ego refusing to back down. Ha! Or what? Eduardo, the loudest of the group, bursts into laughter. His voice drips with mockery. Oh, look at this guy. I think he's some kind of tough guy. What's he gonna do, punch us? Bet he can't even throw a punch anymore. The cartel members join in, their laughter growing louder, their taunts sharper. The air crackles with tension. Fueled by their jeers, Arturo steps forward, his movements aggressive, his confidence swelling. He's ready to push his luck. With a smirk of confidence, Arturo shoves Shaq hard on the shoulder. The hit sends a wave of surprise through the other cartel members. Arturo, his voice cocky, his smirk full of malice. Yeah, what are you gonna do, old man? Think you can take all of us on? The shove is the final straw. It sets off a chain reaction of power and payback. Shaq's eyes flash with the fury of a predator. He takes a step back, his calm expression twisting into one of pure, pent-up rage. Shaq, his voice low and chilling. All right, you asked for it. He lunges forward, his fists exploding with energy, his punches landing like a hurricane. Shaq is like a storm unleashed, moving with the speed and power of thunder. His first jab is sharp and fast, hitting with the force of a truck smashing into a wall. Arturo drops to his knees, gasping for air. The cartel members freeze, their eyes locked on Arturo's crumpled form. Shock and disbelief spread across their faces. They've pushed too far. Eduardo, his face shifting from shock to fury, steps toward Shaq. His fists clenched tight, his voice dripping with anger like poison. Eduardo, his voice shaking with rage. You're gonna pay for that. You don't mess with us, old man. You're gonna regret this. The other cartel members snap out of their daze, surrounding Shaq like a pack of wolves. Their eyes burn with malice, but Shaq moves with precision and power, a hurricane of discipline. Eduardo swings a metal pipe, aiming to strike hard, but Shaq snatches it away like it's nothing. Shaq, his voice steady. Drop it. I don't want to hurt you boys. But Eduardo, blinded by anger, takes another wild swing. He's too slow. Shaq is too fast. The chaos spills into the streets, drawing a growing crowd. Phones come out, cameras rolling, capturing every moment. Onlooker 1. Is that Big Shaq? Onlooker 2. Holy crap, it is. What's he doing here? Onlooker 3. I think he's fighting those cartel guys. Elizabeth, her old frame trembling with excitement, raises her fists. Her voice rings out over the crowd. Elizabeth shouting, "Go, Mr. Shaq! Show these punks not to mess with good people!" The crowd explodes with cheers. Their voices rise in a rallying cry, backing Shaq in his fight for justice. He moves like a blur, a mix of speed and skill. His uppercut is so strong, even a trained fighter would wince. The last cartel member, dizzy from Shaq's attacks, collapses like a tree, crashing into a stack of wooden crates. The market erupts. Cheers, applause, pure energy. People clap, others shout in excitement. But then, like sharks smelling blood, flashing police lights and blaring sirens close in on the scene. The fight comes to an abrupt stop. The officers step out of their patrol car, their faces filled with concern and confusion. They scan the crowd, their eyes moving from the beaten cartel members to Shaq, who stands bruised and breathing heavily. One officer steps forward cautiously. Officer 1. "All right, what's going on here?" The crowd, shifting from excitement to outrage, quickly gathers around the officers like a protective barrier. Bystander 1, pointing at the cartel members. "Those guys started it. They were harassing everyone." Bystander 2, placing a hand on Shaq's shoulder. "Yeah, and Mr. Shaq here saved us all." Bystander 3, his voice rising above the noise. "You should arrest these jerks and leave Mr. Shaq alone." The officers, their faces serious and focused, get to work. They grab the groaning cartel members, twisting their arms behind their backs before pushing them toward the police car. Officer 2, firmly, "All right, you're coming with us. Don't even think about resisting." The cartel members, their earlier arrogance replaced by pain and humiliation, slump into the car like bags of potatoes. Their grumbles and curses are drowned out by the cheers of the crowd. As the officers secure the criminals in the car, one of them turns to Shaq, his expression filled with gratitude and newfound respect. Officer, nodding at Shaq. "Thanks for stepping in, Mr. Shaq. You probably saved a lot of people from getting hurt. We appreciate it." Shaq, now calmer, takes a deep breath and nods. His eyes show just a hint of satisfaction. With the cartel members in custody, the officers slam the car doors shut. The patrol car speeds off, tires squealing. But before he's taken away, Arturo, still struggling against the officers, manages to twist around. His eyes lock onto Shaq with pure hatred. Arturo, his face twisted with rage, his voice a mix of fear and fury. "Who the hell are you? You're not just some old guy, are you?" His words, dripping with confusion and anger, hang in the air. He studies Shaq's face, desperate for some kind of answer. Shaq smirks, his amusement subtle but clear. He responds with cool confidence, his words hitting Arturo like a punchline to a cruel joke. Shaq, calmly, "I'm just a guy who doesn't like bullies." "Looks like you learned that lesson the hard way." With that, he turns away, his shoulders straightening as he heads back toward Elizabeth's fruit stall, leaving Arturo stewing in his own humiliation. The crowd, their admiration for Shaq growing like a tidal wave, erupts into cheers and applause, their voices drowning out the sound of the patrol car disappearing into the distance. Shaq, now calm again, picks up his bag of oranges, checking them for any damage. He brushes them off and tucks them under his arm. As he walks back toward Elizabeth's fruit stall, his eyes meet those of the thankful onlookers. They nod at him with respect and smile in appreciation. In today's world, a viral moment can spread faster than a wildfire. Within minutes, the footage is posted online, showing Shaq's strength and kindness for all to see. News outlets, always looking for a great story, jump on the video like hungry scavengers, crafting dramatic headlines that match the internet's excitement. CNN headline, "Big Shaq teaches local cartels a lesson they'll never forget." BBC headline, "Iron Big stands up to bullies." After the video goes viral, Shaq is flooded with interview requests. Reporters push their cameras and microphones toward him, eager to hear his side of the story. Shaq, always a strong voice for justice and fairness, sees this as a chance to spread an important message. With a serious expression, he speaks to the cameras with the same power he once used in the boxing ring. His words are strong and full of meaning. We all have to stand up for what's right. It doesn't matter if you're big or small, what matters is having the courage to do the right thing. If someone is messing with you, don't be afraid to fight back. His words strike a chord with people, spreading quickly across social media. Fans and viewers rally behind him, showing their support. Meanwhile, the cartel members who once thought they were untouchable now realize their mistakes. Locked inside a maximum security prison, they sit together in their cells, their faces filled with regret. They had believed they were unstoppable, but now they are just inmates, stripped of their pride and freedom. As Officer Williams, the warden in charge of their wing, walks past their cell, he smirks with satisfaction. If you like this story, share it with your loved ones and subscribe to the channel for more.